here to talk about the Springfield Contractors Association and our vision moving forward. One of the things that's just incredible about this organization is all of the things that we're currently doing. And what we want to do is we want to take advantage of that momentum, provide opportunities for our industry to continue to grow and to support our members. It's an investment that we're all making. As a part of this vision, it was incredibly important that our vision match with our mission statement, is to advance local construction industry interests, promote safe work environments, cultivate working relationships in order to develop a strong community. We're going to be moving the industry forward, and you're going to be a huge part of it. So Megan, when it comes to the engagement piece of what we do, we do events, we do them well, and we have, we're blessed with a lot of really engaged members, but we can do better. So let's talk a little bit about, what does that vision look like for the engagement piece?
Yeah, so the engagement piece is really separated into three pieces. It's engaging our members, engaging the industry, and then engaging the community at large. So we're going to focus on telling our story. The construction industry is fantastic at building things. We're great doers, but we don't reflect on it. We don't, do a good job of being like, hey, did you see that building? That was me. All that kind of stuff. So what we're going to focus on is taking that next step. We're going to celebrate the successes of what SCA has done behind the scenes. We're going to tell our members that, and we're going to make sure that our members feel connected to that. It's not just about SCA. Everything we do is for the industry. Nothing that we do would mean anything without the engagement of our members. The next step is going to be getting that out to the next level of people. We want to make sure that other industry people, potential members, industry partners, things like that they're engaged in the same thing. We're all about partnerships. We're all about building our community, and we're just going to make sure that people understand what we're doing, that we're getting out there, we're telling that. And then the third piece will be really focusing on that community involvement that we haven't done as well. SCA is more known in the industry, but once you get outside of economic development, construction, all of that, people don't really know what we do. But if we can elevate SCA in the community, we're really focusing on elevating the industry. And if we can make it a better career opportunity, then that can help with workforce development, that can help with advocacy, and it really pulls it all back together.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of things within the construction industry that go unsung, if you will. And I think there are a lot of really great people in the industry that are doing just amazing things within the community. But like you said, we're not good at letting people know that this is who we are. And I think the perception with construction is that it's a byproduct of other economic development. But it's really an incredibly critical component of that development, because if you can't build the infrastructure to support new businesses, you can't bring in the new businesses. So it's an important part of our entire community. And I love what you said there. Talk a little bit more about what kind of impact is elevating the visibility of the industry and how important we are to this area. How does that impact specifically workforce development?
Yeah, so a lot of people, when they hear the word construction, we've talked about ditch diggers, and they picture that person standing on the side of the road, that person, fixing the roof of the house next door, but they have a very limited perception of what it really is. So by us, telling the story and having pride in our work, then we're able to really explain what the industry is. There are so many opportunities. We're going to talk about how you can start out at one level and work your way into owning a company. The opportunities are endless, and we don't talk about that. We have this stereotype that when you work in construction, you're not going to be able to do it forever because you're going to have a broken back, you're going to have all of these health problems, and you're just not going to have a job, and what are you going to do the rest of your life? That's not true. Other industries have done amazing. The healthcare industry, there is a specific career path. You go in as a CNA, and you're not meant to stay in that position. Construction's not different. We just don't do a good job at explaining that. We talk about that there are trades, but people don't realize that there are steps even within that. So by connecting with the community at large and us having workers talk with young families, let's talk with our community leaders. We do a good job at that, but we need to make sure we're getting the right message across and a consolidated message for the entire industry. That's what's going to be really impactful for workforce development, because once we get past those stereotypes and people realize this is a real career and there's a lot of money and there's a lot of flexibility and they are your skills, that's a big deal. That shows, we are essential. We're not going anywhere. We're not getting automated. We're going to be here for the long haul, and that's a great industry to be in.
Absolutely. You said essential. Essential workers.
Essential
right?
workers, keyword right now.
Yeah. So when you just thinking about that last year, part of that communication piece was communicating with industry leaders and letting them know that we are essential, and having that, roping it back into advocacy, advocating for the industry. And one of the things that I think we probably don't focus enough attention on is letting our members really know what their investment into the SCA really does for them. They think of it as a networking opportunity. You see that in surveys. I do it for the networking, which is great, but if we're not focused on the communication piece, how are they going to know what we're doing? So I love that that's an incredibly important part of what we're doing. Do you have any ideas on how you're going to move forward with letting members know these are the things that we're working on?
We want to focus on doing some hybrid things. Like, we need a year in review where we can actually pull everything together in one document. We already have our weekly newsletters, but we don't know who's not receiving them. We know people that are receiving them, but a lot of times emails change, people change, things like that. So what we've been doing this year, and what we're going to start trying to do moving forward, is have a group of people, board members, people from our marketing and membership committee. We're going to try to actually reach out to every member with a phone call. Hey, how are you? What's going on? Do you need anything from SCA? How can we better serve you? So that, there's a touch for every single member, because every member is important and every member has a spot in this industry, and we want for you to feel included. I know that we also have members that are like, I just pay the money so that I'm in the directory. Like, I just, that's my advertising. I want my card on the website, whatever. And we understand that. Like, they may not be as engaged. They just want that piece of it. But the people that want to be involved, but they don't know how, we want to make sure that they understand where they can get plugged in, and make it easier for them to, find their spot in the association.
So critical. And I think that, the key piece to that is everybody has their reason to invest. But I want to highlight the fact that it is an investment that they're making into the SCA. And, we're working diligently through this visioning process to make sure that that investment meets and exceeds their expectations, and probably does things that they don't even realize that they're benefiting for the community and for the industry.
We definitely do more than people realize that we are. And I think it's funny because I do hear a lot of people call us the cheap date, because, it's a very low cost membership. And honestly, even our advertising opportunities, we try to look at the fact that we have members that are 1 or 2 employees, and we have members that are hundreds of employees. We want to make sure that both have an opportunity to have involvement, that both of them are, having an equal opportunity for a loud voice. So that's really where all this engagement is it's making sure that they understand what we can bring to the table, and we want for you to use us. That's what we're here for. It's not just a membership where I want your money and we're just gonna, put you in a book and call it a day. We want to be here for when there's good times. We want to be there when there's bad times. We want for people to be able to use our relationships. And it's just making sure that they're aware of what that opportunity is.
Absolutely. And speaking of opportunities, so one of the things that I believe to be a part of this is community outreach type events. And so I know we've got some events coordinated around that, and then there's also the nonprofit side of things, about engaging with some of the nonprofits in the area to improve our mentoring opportunities and being more involved and directly engaged within the community. So can you talk a little bit about those two things?
Yeah, so we're looking at partnering with other nonprofits, whether that's trade nonprofits, charitable nonprofits. I mean, really expanding our reach, that they have people, we have industry workers. So where can we connect the dots on that? That's where engagement really, we go back to advocacy and we pull it all back together. We go back to workforce development and we pull it all together. We're talking about how we need to reach out to younger children. Well, who can we partner with? How can we have an event to get in the community, reach those children in a fun and engaging and educational way, and then also talk to their parents? So we're looking at what that's going to look like, who we need to talk to. We've already talked to some amazing people that are excited to partner, but we want to do this right. We want to make sure that we're taking the time to build something that's going to be sustainable and that can be a staple in the community. So there's a lot of partnerships and there's a lot of conversations. And we also want to make sure that we are honoring people. So it's looking at other nonprofits and other awards and stuff. So whenever SBJ or 417 or whoever has an award, we need to do a better job at highlighting our people. Most of those application processes are really easy. We need to make sure that there are some faces in construction out there showing what the industry really does. And it's stuff like that. It shouldn't take a lot of time, but it'll have a huge impact if we all do it.
So as far as the engagement piece goes, one of the key things that we need to do, we talked about in mentoring kids, we talked about getting in front of the community, but we need to be mentoring future leaders within the construction industry. So tell us a little bit about how the engagement vision is working towards that.
One of the pieces that we have that is great for SCA is we have Generation Next. Generation Next is our group of under 40, and that's been around for years. I mean, it's amazing that we've been able to get that off the ground. They have their own events. They do such a great job with that group. But we want to make sure that we are being intentional about bringing them up as leaders. So they are a group of our up and coming leaders. Well, we're going to try to start taking board members, taking other people that are heavily involved in SCA and partnering them. We can call it a mentor, we can call it, whatever we want to call it.
Mentor.
I know. But we're going to have short-term engagements with them. So that might be a better word to say is just an engagement piece between them. But we want to actually take a board member, take someone from Generation Next, and it's a selling piece for both of them. Because now that Generation Next person is going to get to talk to someone they wouldn't have necessarily had access to. It's someone that is obviously in the same industry, but they're not going to necessarily be the same company, probably won't be. They may or may not be in the same category as them, but it's like, let's instill that history and that knowledge and all of that information. That was my favorite thing whenever I first started working at SCA was learning the history of SCA. I mean, we've been around since 1953. We've done a lot of stuff.
That's amazing.
We need to pass that knowledge down. We need to pass down our traditions. And that doesn't mean we don't need to change and grow, because we do, and that's why we're doing this. But we also need to understand where we came from, and we need to be intentional about building the best leaders we can for the industry. So that's going to be a big piece of it, is also mentoring our own within the association to make sure that they're ready for those next steps. We want to make sure they're ready for more chair commitments, ready for leading their business. I mean, it's not all just about us. It's about making sure that they're ready to lead the industry.
I love that. Leadership is it's something that I think the cross-pollination part of it, where you have people learning from other people within the industry but don't necessarily do the same thing. What a great opportunity. And Generation Next, if you're not plugged into Generation Next, you got to think about it. It's a great opportunity. And I love that mentoring aspect of how do we invest in our own to really grow the industry. So can you share with our audience ways that if they want to get involved, how can they get connected in the engagement piece of our vision?
Really, a lot of that's going to be reaching out to us. So if someone wants to get involved, they can reach out to me specifically. I would be more than happy to get them plugged in. Engagement's a massive, massive piece. So we're going to have a lot of moving pieces. We're going to have marketing and membership. We're going to have an actual engagement committee. We're going to have another little subgroup that's talking about what awards are out there. I mean, this is a lot of information all together in one. So if someone thinks, I want to connect with other people, I want to be involved in that, just reach out. We'll find you a spot. It's one of those things that I don't expect for someone to make a phone call and say, I want to do this. If you want to, that's amazing. And I love that. But let's talk about your strengths. Let's talk about where you fit in. Engagement's really just getting involved. If you don't have a lot of time, volunteer for an event. It's getting you plugged in somewhere. So I would be happy to talk to people, talk about your interests, talk about your strengths, talk about what your company needs, and just reach out to the SCA office and we will find you the spot that's best for you.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for your leadership. You've been such an incredible and instrumental part of this process. I think you've had the idea of having this type of a vision for a long time, and seeing it come to fruition. It's been something that you've been a driving force behind. And so just thank you for your leadership in that.
Thank you.